I get it when you're standing in the shop and you see a wood lathe that promises 1.5 HP and a 1,640 inches workbench. The first thought is, will this actually handle the projects I'm planning, or am I just paying for a big name? I was in that exact spot last month, scrolling through endless listings, trying to decide if a machine that looks like a mini industrial beast was worth the space it would take up in my garage. I kept worrying about a few things. Will it spin low enough for delicate pens? Can it hold a 10-inch bowl without wobbling? And, most importantly, will it bite my wallet without delivering the results I need? Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you pull the VEVOR 1.5 HP wood lathe out of the box, the first thing you notice is the sheer weight of the cast iron body. It's not just for show. That mass translates into rock-solid stability when you crank up the speed to 3,200 revolutions per minute for a quick sanding pass, or drop down to 150 revolutions per minute for a slow, controlled turn on a thin vase. I set it up on a concrete slab in my workshop, and after a quick tighten thie-bolt routine, the lathe sat there like a heavyweight champion ready for the bout. No wobble, no hunting. Just a steady hum that made me feel confident enough to start a project that would have otherwise required a professional shop. The variable speed brushless DC motor is where the VEVOR really shows its flexibility. I've turned everything from tiny wooden pens about 0.25 inches in diameter to a 12-inch, 2-inch thick table leg on the same machine. The speed range lets you start a pen at a low 150 revolutions per minute, giving you precise control over the initial shaping, and then ramp up to 2,000 revolutions per minute for the finishing passes without having to change belts or gears. That smooth transition is a big win for anyone who likes to stay in the flow of a project instead of stopping to fiddle with the machine. Now, let's talk about the workbench dimensions. The 1,640 inches bed gives you a decent amount of real estate to mount larger blanks. I tried a 12-inch turning blank that was about 3 inches tall, and it sat comfortably with enough clearance to add a tool rest and a quick change chuck without feeling cramped. For hobbyists who mostly do pens, spindles, or small bowls, that size might feel a bit overkill, but if you're planning to venture into medium-sized furniture components, think chair legs, small tabletops, or decorative bowls, this footprint starts to make sense. The built-in tool rest is adjustable and holds steady even when you're applying a bit of force to shape a larger piece, which is something you'll notice when you're trying to remove material quickly without the rest drifting. One of the practical strengths that isn't always advertised is the Ready-Touse Accessory Kit. Inside the box you get a basic chuck, a faceplate, a steady rest, and a set of sandpaper discs that slot right onto the motor shaft. That means you can start a project the same day you unpack it, without hunting down a separate chuck or buying a third-party steady rest that might not match the lathe's motor shaft. For someone who's just building a workshop or doesn't want to spend an extra weekend on sourcing accessories, this is a genuine time saver. But there are a few trade-offs that you should consider before you click Add to Cart. First, the brushless DC motor, while quieter than a traditional AC motor, still produces a noticeable whine at high speeds. If your garage is also a shared space or you have thin walls, you might find the noise a bit louder than a low benchtop model. Second, the lathe's footprint means you need a sturdy, level surface that can bear at least 300 pounds. I tried it on a heavy-duty workbench with a plywood top, and the frame pressed down hard enough to dent the surface after a few hours of continuous use. So, if your shop is limited to a small table or a lightweight folding desk, you'll need to invest in a stronger base or a dedicated floor stand. Another point that can be a deal-breaker for some users is the lack of a digital speed readout. The speed knob is calibrated, but you have to guess the RPM based on the position of the dial. I got used to it after a few tries, but if you need exact speeds for a specific finish like a precise 800 revolutions per minute for a certain sandpaper grit, this may feel like an extra step. For most hobbyists, a rough estimate works fine, but a professional woodturner who demands exact numbers might find it limiting. So who should really buy this VEVOR lathe? If you're a serious hobbyist or a small business woodturner who wants to step up from a HP bench lathe to something that can handle medium-sized projects without needing to upgrade to a full shop industrial model, this is a solid middle ground. It gives you enough power to tackle larger blanks, enough speed range to stay in control of delicate work, and the stability to keep your pieces accurate. The